So all my life, whether or not I might campaign and say that I've been a misunderstood person, uh, whatever, right? The main thing is that all my life I've tried to talk to people's souls when I'm discussing anything with them or seeing signs of life there, and appeal to the intelligent part of them that is based on seeing the reality, the raw reality before them through systems logic that's based on principles. And the fact that karmically, when we, if you believe in this, right, however this works, if it's just circulating energy through the field that uniformly comes into like a localized systems logic. In other words, I'm like somebody who lived prior to, and we share certain memories, and one could even almost mistake themselves as that person, and then it gets more mercurial and abstract because you kind of have this feeling of being connected with multiple different people throughout time, and it really has to do with, I hate to use that term morphic resonance, it's not my term, and I think that it's a theft from other people like Wilhelm Reich and you know Talbot, Michael Talbot, the holographic universe, and Jacobo Greenberg. I mean, so many people, going all the way back to really going back to Aristotle or Plato. Looking at Pythagoras, you're looking at people who are aware of the system, aware of the ether, aware of the energy that was moving about them, and it's like you're going to reappropriate this into a term and use it in a highbrow methodology as if you're talking about something new. I find it assaultive, but then I end up realizing that the term itself is what Rupert Sheldrake has to offer, right? To say, I'm going to name it, and that's his true gift, and he needs to admit this, right? He needs to admit this, right? So the term, it works really well. So how do we use a term like that without stealing anything or stepping on anyone's toes or trying to look like we're siphoning off some sort of academic prowess when there is none? I don't see the highbrow methodology as anything but it's like a dinosaur gasping to not get put out of its misery because people no longer need it. They no longer need to go back to the alma mater of these Ivy League systems that have barred us from, through language models, from going into the higher tier of greater understanding. But to see that these people really didn't have the answers all along, that they were just sort of using these bonesman type clubs to lock other people out so that they could live big and eat those steaks, right? When you talk about the blue pilled, right? So it's odd that people in the academic community would act like they're being red pilled, right? They're not. It's become popular, and now a big part of the defacement and the degrading and the outright misleading that is still being done by these academic circles through their matriculation is extremely deceptive, because now you have wokeism or being awake or being esoterically inclined. Now you have that as a popular narrative, and that's a dangerous time that we're in because it's a false representation of what's really going on. Now you could say if everything just works out positively and you go off my 2 prior videos, what's the harm? And the harm is it has to do with origins. It has to do with the fact that it should seem alarming to us that suddenly, if we're aware and privy of these UFOs, skinwalkers, the sort of things that have been band-aided over and occulted for the long, when you talk about the Collins Elite, or when you look at these secret sects and secret orders, looking at the Vatican, or the Orange Circle, right, or the Knights of Malta, or going into the Ophites and leading back into ancient Babylon and Sumeria and Egypt, and kind of circling around a little bit, but just to show that the energy has been there all along, and it's like it's within us. The story's within us. It doesn't want you to encrypt your own genetic code and to see how that strong, weak nuclear force interfaces with. And it's implanted in my head, and I can't believe it because it's like subjects that I've been talking about forever, but everybody's like attached to this morphic resonant field. Let's use, and I have used terms for this, but I'm trying to use terms like matrix or things that people can broadly identify with, right? And that's why I just come back to energetics. It's like it really is about energetics. It's about energetic movement, but it is very specific to plasma. It is very specific to the ether. It's very specific to the gradients of the light spectrum that are far beyond what we could ever imagine, and that would look like just pure distortion. And we feel that distortion. So human beings feel this through emotion or energy and motion. And that's why I think that morphic resonance is a short-sighted vision, along with many other terms that are being used. When we look at the electromagnetic field, that's also just giving you a small taste of what you should be experiencing, which is my emotion is the interpretation of the energetics that are happening around me. In other words, you have to trust yourself, and that's the hardest thing to do, and that's the biggest area that's being sabotaged, is that you are not supposed to trust yourself and how the machine works, and even more so from the lack of food quality to crappy air, fucking with the water, right? Putting in all these agents, calcifying your pineal, however you want to go off on this thing that has been talked about for years and years and years, circulating, and again, matriculating through these academic circles and coming back out. The thing is it's trying to indoctrinate you. The message is trying to indoctrinate you, and it's doing a damn good job putting you on the pharmaceuticals, altering your state of mind, feeding you the same damn narratives through movies and social media over and over again. And it's to create this disharmony of the bioenergetic field where you are not trusting yourself as a suitable aspect and mechanism to this and field response, and you're not an aspect or a conduit to this positive energy, and that's the bottom line. And people can write books on this and gain a lot of wealth, and what's missing is this higher intelligence that I really try to appeal to in people, where it's like, I want to talk to the person that's aware of the system. I want to talk to the person who trusts themselves. I want to talk to the aspect of the people who understand that their emotions are not this thing that you hide from or something that you just get off on, right, through the glandular excretions and heightened states of nervous system response, right, and to really like get into the pharmacon and the drug of this whole thing, get real, get mature, and begin to see the artifice and the mechanism and the interplay of your emotions, and how human beings, the human body biosuit is an extremely sensitive, highly capable tissue-based piece of technology that can interface and translate and interpret the messages that are happening all around us simply by and through emotionality, and that the emotions are the things that should be looked at, the emotions and the colors and the movement, right, the flux And the field should be something where people trust themselves down to the point where they go, I'm not going to eat this crap anymore. I'm not going to breathe this air anymore. I'm not going to stress out and drive this car. I'm not going to make this payment anymore. And in mass, when people follow that inclination, that feeling, right? That innate a priori intuitive feeling that's in all of us that has been muted and suppressed, and all the distortions that are happening, all the weird noises, right? All the rapid movements, fucking with the light, chemtrails, contrails, you name it, on every fucking level. It's to distort you and take you away. And it comes back down to these Faraday cages and Wilhelm Reich and all these other people that have seen that you already have it, you already are the answer, and your emotions of who you are as a basic person is intelligent. You are intelligence when you trust yourself. And I'm not talking about trusting. You have to clear yourself out. You have to go through this purification. But as a non-discriminatory energy pathway, you have to be able to trust who you are, the form you are, and to take on that morphic form. That's not morphic resonance. I mean, morphology is shape patterns, right? How can you try to coin a phrase that's already out there in science? Like that's odd. Yeah, I don't like that. But I like to use the term morph and morphology. No one owns that. And resonance is about the amplification and the emanation of that energy and the light energy that we take up and the distribution of that light energy and the connectivity to others. That's an aspect of the Merkaba, if you will, but we can't give titles and give credence to these quasi-religious groups that have been taking advantage of things for years, right? And that's just the truth.